and we're doing our best to bring you this broadcast from what we're currently estimating to be about 240 feet below snow level. This is WKCZ, the subterranean voice of Kansas City, and I hope you've been able to tune in wherever you are, given the unconventional frequency we're now forced to use. It's now day 294 since those first flakes started falling, and simply never stopped. It's about 48 degrees Fahrenheit down here in the studio bunker, so not too bad. That 240 feet of snow is acting as a pretty good insulator. My co-host, Mark O'Connell, aka Big Mac, is finally getting a bit of rest after pulling a 15-hour shift, carving out the new expansion on the Scioto Passage. So enjoy it, Mark. Get your rest, buddy. And I'm up soon myself. Got a 12-hour shift slated for the GSR southbound arterial starting in about 2 hours. But until then, I keep my promise and I keep broadcasting. Our frequency, for those of you trying to find us, is now oscillating between 88.3 and 91.1 megahertz. As you know, the density of the packed snow above us, combined with the sheer amount of localized electromagnetic interference from booster generators and digging robotics, continues to degrade signal quality, so if the audio dips, bear with us. Okay, now let's get straight to the updates, because 294 days in, the movement accelerates, the desperation mounts, and the numbers continue to climb. From our perspective, deep under the snow, we keep collecting and sharing whatever info we can, trying to piece together the broken puzzle of our world, and it's a huge job, only possible thanks to the relentless work of so many people working in conditions that would have just seemed crazy less than a year ago. The vastness of what's above us and what we've created below is, well, it's hard to put into words. What the northern hemisphere of our world now looks like when you picture the whole hemisphere extending from the snowy regions a few hundred miles north of the equator all the way to the Arctic Circle. It's now just this huge expanse of deep snow that has engulfed cities, mountains, and everything in between. We've gotten a bunch of mixed and often jumbled reports from all over the United States showing just how brutal the snowfall has been. Here in Kansas City, we're sitting under about 240 feet of snow, but there are areas where things are a lot worse, believe it or not. We've received messages, usually passed along through several shortwave hops and the like, from places like Duluth, Minnesota, where the last confirmed report said the snow was at 380 feet deep, and up in the Cascade Range, close to what used to be Paradise, Washington, estimates suggest it's well over 400 feet, maybe even hitting 500 feet in some sheltered valleys. And the same situation is happening in the high plains of Cheyenne, Wyoming, and the mountain towns of Flagstaff, Arizona, as well as parts of Syracuse, New York, where some reports are saying snow depths are nearing 390 feet. Over in Europe, things are just as tough. We've been able to get some sporadic communication with the European Coordination Command, or ECC, mainly through ultra-low frequency signals sent through the deepest sections of what's left of the Atlantic cable system. And everyone involved are dealing with an extra huge challenge, the sea. The Europeans have to navigate the Mediterranean, and so this means their main escape routes aren't directly south. Instead, they take a winding path southeast, trying to avoid the Mediterranean, pushing through Turkey and the Middle East, and then hopefully into Africa. And many of their key routes, like the Alpine Drift and the Balkan route, are trying to connect into what they've called the Euro-African Bore, a massive project aimed at breaking through the snow covering the Levant and eventually linking up with African networks. Here at home in the United States, the focus remains primarily southbound, and we've also got a lot of desperate people still trying to make their way to the highest skyscrapers. Some of them in the likes of New York, Chicago, and Dallas still have their very tips, perhaps the top 20 or 30 floors protruding above the snow line. And so the idea for many is to reach the base of these titanic structures, burrow up through the buried lower floors, and then ascend to the top, hoping to find an exit through what were once penthouse windows or observation decks and somehow make their way out onto the surface. But let me be absolutely clear, as the administration has also advised for months, do not attempt this. I repeat, do not attempt this. The reports from these skyscraper zones are simply horrifying. The last confirmed reports from what was once Manhattan painted a picture of utter chaos. The queues, they weren't queues in the traditional sense, they were a crush. Hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions, gathered at these last remaining landmarks, and the tunnels leading to them are extremely narrow, with walls made of packed snow and ice. And as you approach the few entrances to these skyscrapers, the tunnels get even tighter, and the pressure, the overwhelming, unimaginable force of people pushing, scrambling, and suffocating has resulted in countless fatalities. And we've heard reports of entire sections of these tunnels collapsing and just engulfing thousands in a split second. And even if you somehow get inside, if you survive the crush and manage to climb those stairwells, what's waiting for you at the top? A surface that seems solid maybe, but is anything but. This isn't compact, wind-blown ice. This is fresh snow falling almost nonstop for 294 days. And in large areas of the northern continent, it hasn't had the chance to compact, settle, or transform into something solid enough to support human weight. So it's essentially a death trap. You'll step out and you'll fall right through, and not just a few feet, not into a snowdrift. We're talking hundreds of feet. You'll sink like into quicksand until the weight of the snow above you, the lack of oxygen, or the internal injuries from the fall take you out. And even if by some miracle you find a temporarily stable crust, the odds of navigating hundreds of miles of this dangerous shifting terrain trying to head south are practically zero. You will eventually fall. So please heed the warnings and stick to the tunnels. So that leads us to the second strategy, which is way more practical but still pretty risky: the tunnels themselves. This is where the real action is taking place. This is where most of us are located, and our main focus is on the southward migration. We are literally moving mountains of snow to be exact, and the network is massive. If you haven't yet seen one of these, we refer to them as the main arteries. Huge tunnels that can be anywhere from 50 to 80 feet wide and 30 to 40 feet high, allowing modified heavy machinery, mostly electric or hydrogen-powered compactors and excavators, to work safely. And these tunnels are like underground highways built to transport people, supplies, and equipment on a large scale. And the biggest of these, the Great Southern Arterialis, starts somewhere beneath what used to be Indianapolis, Indiana, and is heading straight south towards Texarkana and then directly into Mexico, with the ultimate aim of reaching the snow line somewhere near the Isthmus of Tehuantepec. And it's currently estimated to stretch over 680 miles, with hundreds of feeder tunnels like the Ohio Valley Vein and the Illinois Spoke linking to it. And right now, it's estimated to be making progress at about 2.5 miles a day under the best conditions. But we all know that conditions are hardly ever perfect. Further west, the Central Continental Conduit began near Denver, Colorado, and makes its way down through New Mexico, now targeting the Baja California area of Mexico. And this route, although longer in terms of a straight shot south, was selected because the snow depth in the Rockies, while initially daunting, provided a more stable environment for digging through the underlying rock formations once they broke through the initial snow layer. And this approach has resulted in fewer catastrophic collapses, which is why the administration has concentrated much of its engineering expertise here, focusing on stability and long-term sustainability. And then there's the Appalachian Run, which is a more winding, eastwardly deviated path that starts in Pennsylvania. It's designed to gather survivors from the eastern seaboard who either couldn't reach the skyscraper zones or were smart enough to steer clear of them, and it heads southwest, aiming to connect with the Arterialis around Dallas, Texas. And this tunnel, due to the diverse and often unstable geology of the Appalachians, has a yellow safety rating, indicating moderate risk, and its progress is slow, often less than a mile a day, prioritizing structural integrity over speed. And all these main arteries are supported by tens of thousands of smaller, community-dug tunnels that connect veins and local loops, many of them only 10 to 15 feet wide, just enough for human passage and light equipment. And these are the lifelines for millions, linking buried towns and cities to the main migration routes. It's a world beneath the snow, vast, interconnected, yet still terrifyingly isolating at times. And you can hear the constant low rumble of distant machinery, the almost imperceptible creak and groan of ice and snow settling hundreds of feet above us, and the faint, rhythmic clang of pickaxes and shovels from the current dig face just a few hundred yards from here. It's the pulse of our new reality. The scale of these operations is absolutely mind-blowing. We're talking about hundreds of millions of people who are working, living, and moving underground. And to avoid collapses, which are a constant and terrifying threat, we're using everything from traditional mining methods, like timbering, steel arches, and shotcrete, to cutting-edge experimental techniques that involve supercooling the snow walls with localized cryo-emitters to form temporary ice-strengthened structures. But despite all our efforts, collapses still occur. Just last week, we experienced two significant incidents that rattled the entire network, with the first one being the Great Plains collapse, which affected a part of the Mississippi Vein, a crucial feeder tunnel linking Missouri to the Great Southern Arterialis just north of what used to be Little Rock, Arkansas. An earth tremor worsened by the massive shifting weight of the snow above led to a section nearly 3 miles long simply giving way. The reports on the disaster evolved from confusion to devastating sorrow, revealing over 100,000 confirmed casualties. Rescue efforts faced immense challenges due to widespread destruction, with over 500,000 individuals now presumed lost. Then, just 3 days ago, a major structural collapse occurred in the Appalachian Run, close to Charleston, West Virginia. This was due to a mix of unexpectedly thin bedrock and a shaky type of snow called quick snow, and the result was a sudden sinking that took in more than 40 miles of tunnel, leaving behind a big empty space packed with debris. Early estimates indicate that the death toll could be in the tens of thousands. Since the first snowflakes fell 294 days ago, early estimates from the first few weeks indicated that nearly 45 million people were lost in the immediate aftermath, whether buried in their homes, frozen in their cars while trying to escape, or trapped in the numerous building collapses that happened under the sudden, heavy weight of the snow. Very few places have been able to handle the relentless, harsh stress, and most homes, with their light roofs and foundations not built for this kind of pressure, simply crumpled like paper. And as the months have dragged on, with tunnel collapses, starvation, exposure, disease in overcrowded shelters, and desperate conflicts over resources, that number has, not surprisingly, continued to climb. The latest unconfirmed estimates suggest that we've lost well over 90 million people in the United States alone since this began, and over 2 billion across the entire Northern Hemisphere. But amidst the despair, amidst the hopelessness, there's also incredible ingenuity and coordination.
Ice Serpent calling Frost Crawler. Do you copy? Over.
Loud and clear, Ice Serpent. What's your status? Over.
We're pushing south, but we've had to veer slightly west. Maybe 10 degrees where the snowpack was looser, and the digging's been rough, but we're making headway. We're currently about 240 feet below snow level. How's your progress? Over.
Yeah, same here. We had to adjust a few degrees east earlier to avoid a thick ice shelf. We're sitting at about 235 feet deep, and according to the last alignment check, we should be closing the gap, but I'm not sure how far off our angles might have pulled us. Over.
Yeah, we've been relying on hand signals and old compass readings down here, so no easy way to double check, but how many guys you got on rotation? We're running 5 at a time, but it's slow going without the compactors. Over.
We've got 6 here, but half are on ice clearing. That heavy-duty rig was supposed to arrive 2 days ago, but we're still waiting. If we had it, we'd be halfway to you by now, but we're just chipping away with picks and shovels for now. Over.
Yeah, we've got a small motorized auger, but it overheats every 30 minutes. Any idea how much distance is left between us? Over.
Last survey said we started about 800 feet apart, so if we've both held roughly south, accounting for the minor detours, there's maybe 400 feet left, but it's hard to say. Over.
Yeah, sounds about right. If we keep this pace, we might break through to each other in, 3 more days? Assuming no more ice walls slow us down. Over.
I'd give it 4, maybe 5. We hit a nasty compressed layer earlier. Took 6 hours just to get through 10 feet, so I think we're talking more like 4 or 5 days. Over.
All right, well, in the meantime, we'll keep you updated on how we're doing here. Over.
Sounds good, Paul. Stay safe. Over.
So I figure, worst case, we're looking at another 6, maybe 8 months of this steady fall. My gut feeling, based on what I've been poring over all those old weather anomaly textbooks from when I was a kid, yeah, I was that weird teen, always fascinated by the nerdy stuff, and then at the same time was always wondering why I never had a girlfriend. But anyway, my gut feeling is that it's got to start tapering off by late spring, early summer next year. That's if we're lucky and if this atmospheric weirdness has run its course. Now, everyone down here, the official word, the general consensus from what little news we still get, is that it was some kind of freak polar vortex expansion coupled with unprecedented ocean warming that supercharged the atmosphere with moisture. Then everything just froze solid when it hit the upper altitudes. A global cooling event, but hyper-localized to the northern hemisphere. That's the general narrative they're sticking to. Big system breakdown, basically. But I've got a different theory. I think it's something bigger, something cosmic. Okay, so you know how space isn't truly empty, right? It's full of dust, gas, all sorts of particles. What if we, the Earth, passed through something? Not a giant asteroid, nothing you'd see coming, but imagine a massive, absolutely colossal cloud of hyper-fine, super-cooled cosmic dust or ice particles, like microscopic, almost invisible. Well, what if we just clipped the edge of it as we went around the sun? And as the northern hemisphere was leading the charge into this cloud, those particles just seeded the upper atmosphere. Think of it like a perpetual cloud seeding operation on an unimaginable scale. Every single water molecule up there had something to cling to, something to freeze onto instantly. And because it was just a clip, the southern hemisphere largely missed it. I believe that's why the snow is so dense, so constant. And I mean, I know that theory might sound a bit far out, but it explains the sheer volume of it. We're talking hundreds of feet everywhere. But anyway, that's my theory, which my lucky wife has had the pleasure of listening to for the past 6 months. Now, assuming my ice cloud theory is bunk, and even if it's not, the snow has to stop eventually. And once it does, and assuming temperatures ever get above zero again, I've done some rough calculations. We're talking hundreds of feet here, right? Some places I heard over 500. Where we are, I'd say a good 300, maybe even 350 feet above us. Just solid white. If we ever get a sustained thaw, say average temperatures of 5 degrees Celsius for 3 months solid, we're still looking at years, maybe 5, maybe 10 years for a significant melt. And that's if we get those consistent temperatures. But anyway, in our little pocket here, what we call the Aurora vein, that's our main tunnel system, like a central artery, we've got 173 people right now. We started with 224, but we lost a few to sickness, a few to, well, tunnel collapses, you know how it is. And we're currently digging what we call the New Hope Crossing, heading roughly southwest, and we call it the New Hope Crossing because we're hopeful that we will intercept other tunnels while digging in this direction, or even better, another community, because we're running low on food. We've got maybe 4 months worth remaining if we stretch it, and that's why the New Hope Crossing is so important. We need to find others. We need to find a trade route. We need to expand our community and broaden our connections bit by bit, because the more this world below the snow opens up to us, the more opportunities we have, and the more opportunities we have, the better chance we have of survival. And so...
Howard, where the fuck are you?
Oh shit, I was supposed to be on digging duty 10 minutes ago. On my way right now, Mike. I was just taking a dump. Over.
Don't bullshit me, Howard. Get your ass down here now.
Yeah, okay, I'll be right there. Over. All right, gotta go.
Been listening on the channels, and I'm just giving you all a heads up. We've got reports coming in about groups operating in some of the feeder tunnels leading into the Meridian Mile. Specifically, we're hearing about a lot of trouble in West Dig 3, the Canyon Run, and the Alpha Ridge Connector, where these groups are hiding in the blind spots, and they're mugging people who are passing through, taking their gear, their food, anything they can get their hands on, and they're not just taking supplies. We've also had 2 confirmed cases of people being killed by these gangs. They're extremely dangerous. So if you're planning on pushing south, especially through those access tunnels, West Dig 3, the Canyon Run, and the Alpha Ridge Connector to the Meridian Mile, keep your wits about you. Do not travel alone. Try and stick together, form a group. Even just a pair is better than traveling alone. Keep your lights bright, sweep those dark corners, and stay alert. Stay safe out there, everyone. Over and out.
Copy that. We've heard the reports, and we're going to gather up a team and root these rats out of the tunnels. We can't have this. Over.
Already got a team of 12 headed for Alpha Ridge. Seems to be where most of the trouble is. Over.
Copy that. We'll send a team to West Dig 3 and the Canyon Run. Over.
Okay, great. Stay safe, guys. Over.
always said, if you can see the footprints in the snow, that means the Lord wants you to get home safely. That was my pop's motto, and he lived by it until those footprints led him straight into an active military training zone where he was mistaken for a target and subsequently shot 37 times and ran over twice by a tank. But the point is, you can't always trust where others be leading you. Sometimes you gotta veer off the path, or in my case, go in the complete opposite direction. And that's what I'm gonna tell Lil Jabari when he be big. I'm gonna say, yo, listen up, you a man now, and Pop's gonna slap you across the face with some straight up wisdom. Number one, if you ever gotta run from the police, always zigzag. It make you harder to hit, like in those video games. And number two, set your own direction in life because most people be going the wrong way. See, everybody be digging south trying to get to Mexico or some shit, but I be digging down, y'all. I be using my head. If you digging down, you be using gravity to do most of the work instead of all that sideways shit. But here's the best part. If you keep digging, eventually you're gonna hit Australia, and Australia be hot, man. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I don't know how far away Australia is, but it gotta be closer than Mexico. But I'm just gonna keep digging, keep doing my thing, and right now I'm about 7 feet deep, so it can't be long now before I encounter a kangaroo or a koala or some shit. But I gotta get out of here. I got too many memories down here with my homie Fluffy P. He went down one of the tunnels one day and never came back, so maybe I'm just digging my own grave, but if Fluffy ain't here, I don't want to be either. Much love, Fluffy. Respect, homie. If you up there, say hi to Pops for me. You know, sometimes I can sense him around me, like sense Fluffy's spirit, like he's saying, I'm here, homie. I'm right behind you. And sometimes I can smell him in the air, like right now, I'm getting this ghosty cat smell. Yo, what the fuck? Fluffy!
But luckily he got out alive. Now anyway, we've been living under this great white blanket for 9 months now, and I'm still hearing too many reports of preventable collapses. We are talking 2, maybe 300 feet of overburden, depending on where you are, and that's not powder snow anymore. You're not digging through fluff, you're digging through compressed granular ice, what the geologists call firn, and it expands like a bastard when you give it room. So you need to treat this like proper mining, not like you're building a bloody sandcastle. Now, most of the mistakes I hear about are people only worrying about the roof collapsing. They install vertical posts and a horizontal lintel, a standard square set, but that's rookie stuff when you're this deep. The lateral pressure, that's the pressure from the sides, is immense. If you're 200 feet down, the sides will squeeze your tunnel flat before the roof even thinks about dropping. So what you need is the A-frame set, or better yet, a supported crown post. So listen up. When you salvage timber or steel, you aren't looking for straight planks. You're looking for load-bearing structures. And the best you can find right now are railway sleepers because they're chemically treated. They've handled immense weight and they're thick enough to bite into the ice floor. So what you do is you cut 2 lengths for your sides, angled inwards at the top, and join them with a third shorter piece right at the peak. It looks like a triangle, and that triangulation transfers the side pressure down into the floor instead of just letting it buckle inwards. However, if you can't get sleepers, look for old roof trusses from industrial buildings. Steel girders, even if they're slightly bent, that's gold. Now, how often do you need a brace? This is crucial, and it's where many people get lazy because it's a lot of work and it's very time consuming, but the rule is simple and it keeps you alive. You never advance the face further than the length of your longest salvaged support beam without installing a full support set. I've heard of people trying to push 10, 15 feet ahead before putting up a brace. Bollocks. If your A-frame sets are spaced correctly, and I mean no more than 4 feet apart center to center, they will share the load. If one fails, the 2 flanking it will usually hold until you can get the repair shoring in. But if they're 6 feet apart, when one goes, it takes the others with it, like dominoes. And please, for God's sake, don't neglect the lagging. That's the thinner wood you shove tightly behind the main supports and against the ice wall. And it stops small chunks of ice and compacted sludge from dropping out into the tunnel, which can destabilize the whole section over time. And you can basically use anything for lagging. old floorboards, bits of plastic sheeting, even flattened corrugated iron, but just make sure the space between the support frame and the tunnel wall is packed tight. I know all this sounds like a lot of work, but it has to be done, and, I understand a lot of people are growing more and more desperate by the day and looking for shortcuts, but if you don't do it properly, it's going to cost you your life. That I can guarantee you. Actually, talking of desperation, I saw one guy trying to dig a tunnel to fucking Australia. I tried talking him out of it, but he was having none of it. He just kept talking about kangaroos and his bloody cat. Now anyway, tunnelling is not something you do solo when you're down this deep. As you know, it's physically exhausting, and the lack of light and airflow will make you absolutely knackered very quickly. And fatigue is the biggest cause of collapse, because when you're tired, you rush the bracing, so you need a minimum of 3 people when digging a new face. You need what we call the breaker or the digger at the front, swinging the pick, and rotating every 2 hours maximum. After that, you've got the ice shifter who handles the removal of the spoil, and this is a tireless job. You need to be pushing that glacial muck back behind already stable lines. Never pile it near the current working face, and then you've got the timberman, and this is the most important job. This person is not digging, they are cutting, measuring, setting and installing the support frames, and they must be fresh, focused and meticulous. Now remember to be on the lookout for movement, for those little stress fracture lines in the ice above the supports, and if you notice the ice beginning to weep, as we call it, or if you hear a popping or groaning noise, not the usual settling sound but a distinct crack, get the fuck out of there immediately. Don't wait. Look, I'm giving you the best practice based on what little we can salvage, but I'm going to be straight with you. You are digging a hole hundreds of feet deep with hundreds of thousands of tons of frozen water sitting on top of you. You can never be 100% certain it won't collapse. We can minimize the risk, we can use the right girders and the right sets, but sometimes the snowpack shifts, sometimes the ground beneath your tunnel settles, and sometimes you just get unlucky. Anyone who tells you their tunnel is perfectly safe is either a fool or a fucking liar. So, follow the spacing rules, use the sleepers, keep your crew fresh, and when you're too knackered to cut a proper angle on that timber, you stop, you pack up and you get out. Talking of timber, as you know, I'm the timberman and my shift is starting in a few minutes, so I'm going to have to go. This has been Tunnel Terry, and until the next time, when I'll be giving you all a few extra tips and whatnot, stay safe out there, people, and we'll speak soon.
So we're just thawing out now, basically. It was a long day. A really long day. We hit a patch of that dense, almost blue ice-packed stuff down by Section 3, and it took us 4 hours just to move maybe 5 feet of volume, but we're back at base and we're just chilling now. Quite literally chilling, I guess. You can probably hear Paul in the background there. Yeah, that's Paul keeping everyone entertained as usual. Unfortunately, we couldn't get Paul McCartney, but never mind. Our Paul will do just fine. Paul Rifton, which you have to admit isn't a bad name for a guitarist, and yeah, he's got his old battered acoustic out, and he's a lifesaver, honestly. Gets everyone thinking about something besides the constant freezing cold and the crushing weight of everything above us. And so, spirits are pretty high, actually, and we broke out the good stuff tonight. Some industrial-grade rye that seems to be doing the trick, so we're nursing that along. Helps keep the chest warm, and my God, we've earned it. Every damn shovelful we moved today was another argument for getting absolutely nothing done for the rest of the evening, so we're going to enjoy it, because before we know it, that alarm clock's going to scream at us again, and we'll be back to clawing our way through this frozen hell. But, all the kids are completely conked out, except for my little guy, of course. He's up and about, as usual, and right now he's over by the wall, illuminated by one of our low-power lanterns, drawing. He's got this whole elaborate map going on of all the tunnels we've dug, the sections we've explored.
even the parts that are still just solid snow. And he's added these little stick figures with big creepy eyes in the unexplored areas. He calls them snow chompers. Kid's got an imagination, I'll give him that. He's been doing it for weeks now, meticulously adding every new turn and every little cavern we open up. He even drew a little X where we found the old vending machine last week, the one with the stale candy bars, and beside it he wrote Candy Bar Treasure. Treasure spelt wrong, of course, but he's a good kid, just doesn't understand the concept of sleep like the rest of us. Anyway, whoever's out there listening, hope you're doing all right. Wherever you are in this big, fucking ridiculous snow globe we're all stuck inside, hope you got some warmth, some food, and I hope you're making steady progress wherever you're tunneling and not having to contend with too many collapses, but thank God for what's left of the administration for their divine-like wisdom and advice. Somehow they still think they're running the show from whatever bunker they're holed up in, probably with heated floors and fresh coffee. Dear Lord, did you hear that latest broadcast? Advising everyone to, quote, maximize daily sunlight exposure for vitamin D synthesis. I mean, what the fuck? I nearly choked on a piece of my stale Hershey bar when I heard that. Every time they pipe up with some genius advice like that, you can almost hear the collective groan spreading across the airwaves. Everyone just going, okay, shut the fuck up now, please, please. Save us all the embarrassment and just shut the fuck up. But anyway, rant over. I want to talk about our next big project, and hopefully our final project if all goes well, and possible final project if all doesn't go so well. But we finally gave it a name. We're calling it the Chimney. Yeah, no points for originality, I know, but it fits. It's this upper slanting tunnel we're digging, probably about a 25-degree incline, because we figured, why not go up? Everybody else is either digging horizontally, hoping to find another buried settlement, or trying to go down looking for some mythical underground thermal zone. But we figure the quickest way out is up, and I know it's contrary to all the advice you hear, of course. The general consensus is that if you dig straight up, once you reach the top, you'll just fall straight through the surface. They say the snow up there is not stable enough to walk on, not without some serious weight distribution. So you reach the top, punch a hole through, and then what? You're just gonna collapse into a crevasse, or sink in up to your neck, or down a couple of 100 feet. Yeah, we know the risk about puncturing through, but we have a plan. It's slightly mad, but it's a plan. The idea is that when we get to that thin cap, maybe the last few feet of fluffy surface snow, we won't try to climb out directly. We've been salvaging those thick, corrugated steel decks from the old loading dock bays, the heavy stuff, and we're welding together a massive reinforced platform, so we plan on pushing this platform maybe 15 feet by 15 feet straight out the top of the hole, distributing our weight over a large enough area so we can crawl or slide across the surface until we hit something stable like a drifted snow ridge, or maybe even the peak of the old water tower. I mean, it has to be better than sitting here waiting for the canned goods to run out, that's for sure. Actually, I forgot to say, we got lucky yesterday. We were digging out a collapsed section of the adjacent sewer line. We needed material for the tunnel supports, and we found a whole mess of old lumber, really heavy oak beams, and they were perfectly preserved, just sitting in a dry pocket where the water main broke, and we spent hours hauling that stuff down, but it means we have structural support beams for the next 50 feet of tunnel, which is just awesome because we're already 60 feet up, so that should get us up to over 100 feet easily. And then we'll worry about the other 100 and something feet when the time comes, as you do. We've also got a light source for a few more weeks, which is great. Last week, a scouting party managed to get into the sub-basement of the old public library, and turns out it wasn't just books down there. They had a small, independent server room for their digital archives or whatever, and it was complete with emergency backup generators and, crucially, a whole stash of industrial-grade batteries. Big, heavy things, but they're still holding a charge. So we've got enough juice to keep our LED strips glowing for a while longer. And yeah, so we're feeling pretty optimistic at the moment. This has been a good week, but I gotta mention something that's been a bit unsettling.
Not sure if anyone else has been hearing it, but at night when everything goes quiet and the ice isn't shifting, we've been hearing these sounds. Real creepy stuff. It's like a dragging sound. Like something heavy, real heavy, being pulled across solid ice, but it's underneath us. Or sometimes it's this low sort of guttural hum. It's really weird. Definitely makes you pull the blankets up to your chin a little tighter. It's got us a little on edge. Shit, maybe those snow chompers are real. Maybe my little guy knows something we don't. But anyway. Well, holy shit, that doesn't sound good.
Definitely a tunnel collapse.
Yeah, that's a pretty massive tunnel collapse. Hard to tell how far away it is, though. My God, I hope there weren't too many people wherever that happened. It's definitely affected the signal somewhat. I'm getting a lot of static.
Sector 3, this is Base 1. Do you copy? Channel Alpha 9 is clear. Over.
Base 1, Sector 3 copied. Loud and clear, 5x5. Over.
Roger that, Sector 3. I'm sure you just heard that rumble. Any idea on which specific tunnel system took the impact? Over.
Yeah, we heard it. Felt it too. If I had to hazard a guess, it was probably one of the primary feed lines. Possibly Tunnel Aries or Tunnel Orion. Both run beneath the main Southern Ridge complex. Over.
Roger that. Yeah, we're thinking the same thing. Aries or Orion, possibly simultaneous failure. We have high traffic numbers reported in both those sectors. A lot of people were on shift. Over.
Understood, Base 1. That's the concern on the ground here as well, so we'll immediately dispatch two separate teams. Team Delta toward the Aries entrance and Team Echo toward the Orion access, and we'll report back when we have eyes on the physical damage. Over.
Copy that, Sector 3. Stay safe. Over.
And we're just making our way down Phoenix Way now, trying to keep moving. There's probably about 70 to 80 of us, and people are scared, but they're staying calm. We'd been pushing south, same as everyone, just beyond Sector 7 when we heard a huge rumble, and the ground was literally shaking for a good 20 to 30 seconds probably. And then, before we even knew what was happening, people started running back towards us from further down the tunnel, shouting for us to go back, to turn around. They said that both Aries Tunnel and the Orion Tunnel had collapsed. So, yeah, I think Aries went first, and Orion followed. So, yeah, like I said, everyone's just turning around, we're all pushing back, all making our way in the opposite direction. We're heading for the Citadel, just trying to get as far away from Aries and Orion as we can, because the collapse could have destabilized other parts nearby. This tunnel is quite narrow, so it's pretty packed. I'm literally trying not to trip over kids, but as I said, people are staying calm, there's no pushing, we're all just focused on moving, so I just wanted to get this out, let everyone know, in case you're wondering what that sound was. It was definitely Aries and Orion that collapsed, and from what people were saying, the ones who were closest to it before they turned back, they think it was Aries first, and then the shockwave or whatever it was just totally destabilized Orion, a ripple effect I guess, and down it went. So yeah, stay out of that area. If you're anywhere near those junctions, turn around, go back. Don't take any chances. We have no idea how far the instability goes, but yeah, we're going to the Citadel now. It's our best bet, and from there we'll see what our options are and probably find out a bit more about the extent of the damage. But I fear there were a lot of people in those tunnels. Aries and Orion were massive feeder tunnels, and we had so many crews working down there, so many families moving through trying to get to the next section, and they were almost connected up with the Great Southern Line too. They were very, very close, so that's months of work for nothing basically. All that digging, all that hope, all that effort, just gone in an instant, and sadly, so many people gone with it. but we have to keep going. We can't stop. We have to keep digging, keep moving south, and just find another way, another path. And the Citadel will give us some breathing room, give us a chance to think, to regroup, and... Oh shit, the tunnel is cracking.
And my tongue was stuck to that lamppost for 16 hours. 16 hours. So the moral of the story is only lick a lamppost when it's above 32 degrees.
Yeah, no, I'll be sure to remember that the next time I get tempted to lick one. Because that's the thing, you can't do normal stuff like that anymore without the risk of getting stuck to stuff.
Oh, absolutely not, Karen. Even just a light evening walk through the tunnels can turn into disaster very, very quickly, as you know all too well.
I do, Jimmy, I do.
As you may remember, a few months back, Karen went for a light evening stroll and ended up going missing for 23 days. With no memory of where she'd been, who she'd been with, or how she'd gotten so fat in the meantime.
Yeah, that was a very, very traumatic time for me.
Oh, good golly, it was indeed, Karen. I thought I'd lost you forever, but you returned in all your chubby glory.
Yeah, and I miss it. It kept me warm.
Well, thankfully you've got Jimmy Waxmore to do that for you now, Karen. Your walrus days are over.
Lucky me.
You bet. Now, anyway, it's been somewhere between 150 and 500 days since all this began.
294.
Like I said, 294 days since all this began, and good golly, Karen, I don't know about you, but I'm starting to get tired of all this snow.
Yeah, no, I feel the exact same way. At first it was nice, but once it started slowly burying us alive, I stopped enjoying it.
Yeah, if I were to hazard a guess, that's probably what did it for me too, the being buried alive bit. That was too much. But not to worry, myself and Karen have started digging our own southbound tunnel. I call it the Tunnel of Love. Actually, what's the latest update on our love tunnel, Karen? How are we doing?
We've dug 3 feet.
Wow, 3 feet already in the space of 2 weeks. Good golly. We'll be sipping margaritas in Huatulco in no time, Karen.
Actually, I did some calculations, and at this rate, it would take about 132,000 years.
132,000 years. Okay. Well, I won't lie. That's a little bit longer than I expected.
Yeah, your initial estimate was 4 weeks. I've been holding off saying this for the past 9 months, but it certainly looks like we're in a bit of a pickle here, Jimmy.
A pickle indeed, Karen. A pickle indeed.